Here. Today I'm going to be doing the Unit 4 Quiz 1 review. So I'm going to be going over the stuff you need to know to take that very first quiz. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 1. So what we want to do is figure out what multiplies to 4 and 20. So things that multiply to 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. Things that multiply to 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 5 and 4. So the biggest number that both of those have in common is 4. Now I notice that there isn't an A in both terms and there isn't a B in both terms. So I can't take out an A or a B. So all I'm going to do is divide both terms by 4. So then I'm going to take a 4 out. 4 over 4 cancels out to 1. You can write the 1 if you want to, but you don't have to. And then you have A. 20 over 4 is 5, and then you have B. So we have 4A plus 5B as our final answer for number 1. Now, let's take a look at number 2. We want to figure out what's going to multiply, or what 8 and 12 are going to multiply to. So we have 1 and 8, 2 and 4 for 8. Then for 12, we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So the biggest number that is a factor of 8 and 12 is 4. Now I see that in number 2 I have x squared and I have x, which means x to the first is my smallest amount of x's in each term. So I can take x to the first out of each term. So I'm going to take out 4 and then x to the first. So now I'm dividing each of those by 4x to the first. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. X squared divided by x to the first is just going to leave me with x. Negative 12 divided by 4 gives me negative 3, and x to the first over x to the first is going to cancel out. So this right here is your final answer for number 2. Let's take a look at number 3. So I want to figure out what divides 18 and 6. So I have 18 and 6. So for 18, I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. For 6, I have 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Remember, you're trying to find the largest number that they both divide by, and that's going to be 6. So the largest number I'm going to take out is 6. Now, since I can't take x out of both terms, I'm not taking out an x. So I'm dividing both terms by 6. So 18 divided by 6 is going to give me 3, and then I have x. Now, when you take 6 divided by 6, you're right, it cancels out, but it doesn't cancel out to 0. You want to make sure you have that plus 1 there. I see a lot of students that forget to write that plus 1. Now, let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, we want to figure out what multiplies to 4, 6, and negative 10. So for 4, we have 1 and 4, 2 and 2. For 6, we have 1 and 6, 2 and 3. For 10, we have 1 and 10, 2 and 5. So the biggest number that divides each term, remember, it needs to divide each and every one of them, is 2. So then we divide each of those by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2 and then x squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3 and then x. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Again, I can't take an x out because I don't have an x in each term. So this right here is your final answer for number 4. Now, let's take a look at number 5. So I want to figure out what divides 5 and what divides 20. Well, what divides 5 is 1 and 5, and that's it. What divides 20 is 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. So the biggest number that divides them both is 5. Now I have an x squared in the first term, but I do not have any x's in the second term. So I can't take out any x's. All I can do is divide both sides by 5. Well, so I want to make sure I write the greatest common factor on the outside. Make sure you're doing that. And when I divide 5 divided by 5, that just cancels out to 1. So I'm just going to write x squared, which I also could write as 1x squared. And then 20 divided by 5 is 4. So I get 5 and then x squared plus 4. Taking a look at number 6. So I have number 6. I want to figure out what divides 3, what divides 6, and what divides 9. Now, if you're starting to see it, you already know what divides each of those numbers. You don't have to make the lists. The lists are only there if you need them to help you, because sometimes it's hard to know what multiplies to each of these numbers. So I notice that 3 multiplies to each of those. So I'm going to divide out, for sure, a 3. Then I notice that each term has an x in it, and the smallest number of x's is x to the first. So I'm going to take 3x to the first out of each problem. Well, 3 over 3 is going to cancel out to 1. So when it's a coefficient, I don't have to write that. So I'm going to write my greatest common factor on the outside, and then you can write 1x squared, or you can just write 1x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X squared over x is just x. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3, and x over x is going to cancel out. So this right here is your final answer for number 6. All right, let's take a look at number 7. Now, number 7 is going to require you to do some factoring by grouping. Whoops. So to do factoring by grouping, first thing you want to do is make your 2 groups. So then we want to take our greatest common factor out of the first group. So what divides x squared and 2x? Well, that's going to be x. I can't take any number out. So what I'm going to do is divide each of those terms by x. X squared divided by x is just x. And then 2x over x cancels out, and we're just left with 2. Then I need to think about what divides 4 and 8. Again, if you still need to make those lists, you go through and do that. I'm not going to spend the time on it on the video, but if you need practice or you need me to help you, please let me know. So what divides 4 and 8? Well, 4 divides 4 and 8. So 4 is going to be my greatest common factor, and then we're going to divide each of those by 4. Well, 4x over 4 is just x, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So then I see that my leftovers match. That's a good thing. So then I can write my leftovers as one of my parentheses. And then in my other parentheses, x plus 4 is going to go as the second parenthesis. So whatever was left over on the outside is going to be my other parenthesis. Let's take a look at number 8. Same deal here. So I'm going to make my 2 groups. Now, out of the first group, between 2 and 6, I can divide out a 2. Between x squared and x, I can divide out an x. So I'm dividing each of these by 2x. Well, 2 over 2 is just 1. You can write the 1 if you want to. X squared divided by x to the first is just x. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and x over x will cancel out. Taking a look at my second group, I want to figure out what divides 3 and 9. Well, 3 is going to divide 3 and 9. Now, I can't take out any x's because there aren't any in the second term. So 3x divided by 3 is just going to leave me with x, and 9 divided by 3 is going to give me 3. So now I have x plus 3 times x plus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to factor what's left over out first. So I get rid of that. Then in my second parenthesis, I'm going to write what was left on the outside, which is 2x plus 3. So this right here are my 2 factors for number 8. So let's take a look at number 9. Again, setting up my group here. So when I make my group, what I'm going to do is I am going to make a group here, make a group here. So between 3 and 5, there's nothing I can divide out. So there's no numbers that we're going to take out. Between x squared and x to the first, I can take out an x to the first. So I'm dividing each of these terms by x. 3x squared divided by x. Well, 3 divided by 1 is just going to give me 3. And then x squared divided by x is just going to give me x. Negative 5x divided by x, well, my x's are going to cancel out, and I'm just left with negative 5. Now, between 9 and 15, I can divide out a 3. Again, if you still need to make your factor list, that's not a problem. I can't take out an x because there are not x's in each term. So I'm going to go ahead and divide each of those terms by 3. So then I'm going to get 9 divided by 3, which is 3, and then x. And negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. So then I notice that my leftovers are matching, so I can go ahead, factor those out, and write those down. And then once I've factored those out, I'm going to write what's left after that, which is x plus 3. So that's my final answer for number 9. Now, let's take a look at number 10. So for number 10, we have 2 groups. So I'm going to take a look at my first group. What can I take out of 6x squared and 2x? Well, between 6 and 2, I know I can divide out a 2. So I know I'm dividing each of those terms by 2. Between x squared and x, I can take out an x to the first. So I'm going to take out an x to the first. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. X squared divided by x to the first is x. Now, when I take negative 2x minus or divided by 2x, again, that's going to cancel out to 1. Please do not forget to take your 1 and leave that 1 there, and it's going to be negative because the 2x was originally negative. Now, you'll see at the start of this second group that my sign is negative. So that means the greatest common factor that I need to take out is going to be negative. Well, nothing divides 3x and 1, so really all I'm going to do is divide both of those by a negative 1. And that'll change the signs of everything. Notice that I have that negative 1 on the outside. So now in one of my parentheses is going to be that 3x minus 1. Then in my other parentheses is the 2x minus 1, what's left over on, or 2x minus 1, there. So this right here is your final answer for number 10. Now, let's take a look at number 11. So this is one that you need to use solve the system. So I would suggest elimination. You see here how you have same number, opposite signs. So that means we can immediately add down the columns because 2x and negative 2x will cancel out. Y plus 5y is 6y. 8 plus 4 is 12. Then we're going to take and divide both sides by 6, and I get that y is equal to 2. Now that I know y is equal to 2, I can plug it in for y there or there. It doesn't matter which y you plug it in for. So I have 2x, and then we're going to add 2. So instead of writing my y, I write 2, and that's equal to 8. So now I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I get that 2x is equal to 6. Then divide both sides by 2. And 6 divided by 2 is going to give me 3. So x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2. So I'm going to write that out as a coordinate point. First my x and then my y. Next, let's take a look at number 12. So I noticed that my x's each have a coefficient of 1, but what they don't have are opposite signs. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that second equation by a negative 1. So that top one is going to stay the same, but then when you multiply the second equation by a negative 1, you're going to go through and change the signs of everything. Now we have opposite signs for our x's, so we can go ahead and cancel those out. 2y minus y is y. 11 minus 8 is 3. So now I know that y is equal to 3. So where I see y there or there, I can plug in 3. I'm just going to plug it into the bottom one. So x plus 3, again, that 3 is taking place of the y, is equal to 8. Oops. So now I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I end up getting that x is equal to 11. So now I'm going to write that out as 11, goodness me, is equal to 5. So then I end up getting that my x is equal to 5 and my y is equal to 3, so I write that out as a coordinate point, first to my x, then my y. So that concludes your review video. You can go ahead and take the quiz once you're done studying. Thanks for listening.